Welcome to the Diary of Discovery, the podcast where we delve deep into the human experience of healing and transformation. I'm your host, Jackie Clark, and each week we will sit down with inspiring individuals who have embarked on their own personal journeys of healing and self-discovery. From overcoming trauma to navigating life's challenges, our guests share their raw and honest stories, offering insights, wisdom, and hope to all who tune in. So grab your favorite cup of tea, find a cozy spot, and join us as we uncover the power of resilience, courage, and the pursuit of authenticity. This is the Diary of Discovery. Okay. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I am super excited to welcome yet another wonderful guest. And today we've got the amazing Carol with us. So, Carol, do you want to tell everyone who you are and where you are in the world?
So, yes, I'm Carol Eaves, and I'm in Scarborough, North Yorkshire in the UK. It's a lovely coastal town.
Amazing. Yeah, Scarborough is really beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are here to talk about your healing journey. And I love when people come on to share with us and are ready to kind of do this and tell their story because it is, it is a big deal and it's part of the process. And I think that it is so incredible to be willing to help other people as well. So, like, thank you so much for coming on and being here. We're so grateful. But do you want to take us back to the start of your personal journey and like what was that moment where your healing started and you thought like something's got to change or something's got to give here?
Um, yeah, I think it was probably just over 30 years ago. I think I'd been on the healing journey for many years previous to that, but it was more conscious. It was more, I need to seek out a therapist. I need to get some work to help me with this. And so I went to see a holistic massage therapist, and she, through the body work, she unlocked some things that were stored in my body, some traumatic memories that were stored. And so I went for regular massages for well over a period of years, really. But that was the start of the conscious healing, should I say? Yeah. So a long time ago. Yeah. And yes, it was quite curious work, in that I think it's more commonly known about now that how trauma is stored in the body and how it can manifest itself again as pain, as physical symptoms, as visible physical symptoms that don't seem to have any medical reason, other than it's all trauma stored in the body, and I was in a lot of pain, and so that was the beginning of the journey. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I think, yeah, so many people like now somatic healing is so spoken about and so recognized, but actually 5, 10, 15 years ago, it was seen as something completely like, oh my gosh, what is that? Like, what are you doing? How could that help?
Yeah, yeah.
So that must have been quite an interesting like start to your journey to go into sort of somatic work. And what was the like you said that you were in quite a bit of pain. Like, how did it manifest for you?
Um, at that time, I was getting a lot of sore throats. I mean, I've had a sore back. There was always one infection after another. But this particular time, I was getting sore throats. And I'd had a memory of something traumatic happening. Um, when I saw somebody that I hadn't seen for years who had attacked me in a we were in a relationship, and he'd attacked me, and in that moment when I saw him again, I instantly felt the pain in my throat and I could hardly speak. I felt choked again. And the friend that I was with at the time said, I think you should go and see Annie. she's this, she's a massage therapist, and I think you should go and see her. So that was the start of it, really. And I didn't tell her that story about what had happened. I just went to, get some relief from physical symptoms that I was having. And one of the most bizarre things that happened in that therapy, or I think it might, whenever it was, but she said that marks appeared on my body. And she said, "Has this ever happened to you?" And I told her it had. The physical marks reappeared while she was releasing the trauma in the massage. So it was quite incredible, really. And then I continued to have those kind of as the years went by, and I went from, I didn't go for treatment like continuously, but every now and again I would go back and have some more work. And yeah, it was strange how these things would come up. It was magic in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but it was
Wow.
a difficult thing to talk about because who'd believe you, really? In those
Yeah.
days. Yeah,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, 100%. And it's so interesting because one of the things that we know about the nervous system now is that nothing will ever come up or manifest until you're ready to deal with it. So
mm,
it's interesting that you said actually you did, bouts of work throughout a period of time at different times. Like it wasn't just a continuous thing, because actually your nervous system, we know now, needs to release these things and then stabilize. And then it can
yeah,
kind of go again and, release again and then stabilize and so on and so forth. So that's like a really normal pattern that I think when people start healing, they can sometimes feel like it has to be this like super intense, done all at one time, like do it as quickly as possible in a very kind of masculine fashion, like everything else we do in our lives. So it's quite nice to actually hear that thing of like, actually, this is quite spacious and it happened over a long period of time. And, it came when it was ready. And it's a very kind of different way of looking at things, which I think is really, again, like really good for people to hear that it doesn't have to be this like super intense all at once like push
yeah,
to get the thing done.
yeah. I think I expected that initially, thinking that I would, get the work done, but it's the nature of sort of health that's you know has its roots in trauma is that it's sick. It comes around in circles. It's circular, circular. You know,
Yeah.
um, so I've had a lot of experience of that. And I'm in therapy now. So for another layer of but I've got a different approach now. I'm using a different method at the moment, but it's like more layers and more layers of things that we just need to keep coming back to address.
Yeah,
Well, I have.
absolutely. No,
Yeah.
completely. I feel exactly the same. I think that that's how it works. Like you cycle through and you get to a bigger expansion of something, and then something else shows up and goes, "Oh, actually, and what about this? Have a look over here." And I think that is the whole point of growth and healing. Like I think that that is it. So I guess like as you were going through, so obviously like you've started this journey quite a while ago with this like first like trauma, and then obviously you said you've done like regular sort of things over the years. What did you have to kind of learn about yourself or embrace about yourself to go on this journey?
Um, I think it was overcoming the fear of looking at things, of uncovering things that I'd kept secret, that I'd kept that were, cloaked in with shame. And I really had to kind of, dig deep really and kind of get over that preciousness of like not revealing anything about myself, you know. So that, yeah, it was overcoming that fear of looking deep inside.
Yeah. Absolutely,
Yeah,
100%. Again, I think like a lot of people have that fear of like when you start something like this, it's almost like you don't know what you're going to uncover and you
mm,
don't know how big it's going to be and whether you're going to be able to hold it. And I think, especially in those early days, the first few things that come up, like, repressed trauma specifically, you don't have any blueprint of being like, oh yeah, I've been through this before and it was okay. So it's like
mm,
very much, you kind of just have to go go with the moment and see how it goes. So as you were kind of going through that and you were sort of getting to know yourself and feeling into that fear and moving into this, like, were there moments in your healing journey where it was just really hard and you weren't sure, that you would be able to get through it?
yeah. Yes, there's been times like that. Yeah, times when I've not been able to work, times where I feel like I'm losing the plot, my mental health takes an impact as well. And yeah, physical is manifested as physical health problems, and as well as mental health problems, emotional health problems. And yeah, there's been times when it's floored me, and I, I can't go out, and I can't go to work, and I find it difficult to, look after my family and my pets. So yeah, it has been overwhelming at times. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Were there any specific times that you can remember that were harder than others?
Uh, oh well, yeah. I suppose there's quite a few. Yeah, I think, but before the healing began, there were times when I'd crash, and I got ill for about 18 months or so, and I became very agoraphobic, and I couldn't go out, and um, yeah, but that was when I was in my 20s. So this is
Mm.
previous to me start, because in those days it was like, go to the doctors and get some antidepressants and some tranquilizers, which I didn't particularly like taking because it was like a sticking plaster, take these pills and everything will be fine. And it wasn't, because we weren't looking at the the reasons really. Um, and then, but there, the ways that I used in those days, which I didn't really look at as healing, but it was in a way of making myself feeling better. I started getting into aromatherapy, and I would, look for the nice essential oils that would help me feel more relaxed. And yeah, so yeah, aromatherapy's always been there in the background. Yeah, but people,
That's really
my family thought I was mad. You know, um, they, yeah, they really judged me, thought I was really strange, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But I mean, that was like, it was almost more normal for people to judge mental health than for people to have mental health. Like, mental health wasn't seen as something that was openly discussed or, the norm. Exactly like you're saying, it was like band-aid over it, just like push through, get on, like, don't worry about it. It was very much just um, like a just be okay culture. And don't sort of like tap into what you're feeling or how that impacts you. So it's not surprising to kind of hear that. And I mean, I know from my journey of depression, I had a very similar conversation with my doctor in the UK when I lived there around, antidepressants, tranquilizers. And I said I didn't want to, and as I've said on the podcast, nothing against meds. If people need to take meds, that's absolutely fine. But I just didn't feel like they were right for me for the same reason that I felt like I was just hiding from the thing that needed to be dealt with.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it like you just know, like your body knows what you need. I think that that is a really, really key thing. So I guess like what so going through, obviously you said, like you've had, mental health in your 20s, you've done, healing in your 30s, like you're still doing continuous healing now, which is really like incredible. And as you're going through that, when you are looking back to your life and how it kind of changed, what do you think your biggest outlook change was on how life was versus like the reality once you've kind of gone through this process?
Uh, I feel quite proud of myself actually, that I'm still here and that I'm healthy and that, and if I do struggle, whether it's physically, emotionally, I reach out these days, I know what to do. It's like, right, okay, it's time for some more investment in my well-being. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, investment in my well-being is continual, continual, but every now and again it needs a boost.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I love
yeah.
that. What sort of investments have you made in your well-being?
So I I have a dance practice. So I'm a five rhythms dancer. It's a way of processing my emotions in my body, and it's a really lovely way to have a more positive relationship with my body. And I've been doing this practice for about 30 years.
Mm.
Um, and I don't go, again, sometimes I'll go every week and then other times it's months before I go again. But a movement practice is one of the things that supports my well-being. I swim nearly every day, um, and do qigong, exercise. I think exercise is really, really important. So yeah, swim, use the gym sometimes, and do qigong. I write, a journal. I think the writing is perhaps one of the first healing practices I did without realizing that it was healing. So I'm still writing. I write. I'm doing more creative writing. I've got ideas for books at the moment as well. So yeah, so I'm really creative. And I think what else do I do? Or meditate. Like that's my routine on a morning. I get up, make a cup of tea, sit down, meditate, join a group, and we meditate together. Excuse me. And so I have about 3 hours every. Excuse me. I have about 3 hours every morning with my routines, healthy routines, before I can even get to work. So I'm up really early, and yeah, I do my meditation. I connect with my group. I go for a swim. I have breakfast, and then I walk to work as well. So yeah.
There's so much movement. I love that. I think movement is so underrated as a way of regulating your nervous system and setting yourself up for like the most successful type of day.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah. I learned this quite early on in the journey that some kind of movement is essential, really. Yeah,
100%. And I guess like so you said that you then go to work. Do you like did your work change as you went through your healing journey? Like
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I started off in care work, and I did that for about, after leaving college, for about 5, 6, maybe 7 years. And then that was when I first got poorly. And so I gave that work up, realised that it was too much for me being so young. So then I ended up, I was always good at dressmaking, and the sewing and the making clothes was a very important hobby for me, and I ended up developing that. I went back to college. I got some qualifications in fashion and design and clothing manufacture, and then I became a bespoke dressmaker, and worked for years making clothes for people and altering clothes for people, with long arms or short legs or whatever, and altering clothes and making clothes. Made a lot of wedding dresses, made clothes for tall people and short people and people with wonky hips, and so I had a lot of experience for years. And then that all changed when I first started, although I didn't know it at the time, first started with fibromyalgia. And one of the things that happened was I lost the use in my hands, and it was dismissed as carpal tunnel syndrome. I had the surgery, it didn't work, and I had years and years of really, really painful hands, and I couldn't sew anymore. So that was the end of that career, and I grieved it for so long. I missed working with textiles. I missed my clients. I missed, it was a huge grieving process, giving up that, having to give up, the sewing and the knitting and the working with the textures and colours, and I tried to find new ways of working with colour, and everything was too intense on my hands. So I ended up with movement and voice work, and because dance and movement was always a big part of my life and my healing journey, I found this practice that had been brought over from Italy called biomusica, and I loved it so much. It transformed my well-being that I ended up training and became a practitioner in that as well. So that was, when would that be? About 2007 to 2010, I was training in that. And I still sometimes deliver workshops and classes in that as well. So it's a very empowering practice. So it combines movement and play, exercises, and meditation. So it combines all the things.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I did that, and I got some work. Oh, and then I did my degree in dance as well. So at the same time, and I started working in the community and doing dance and movement and voice work with community groups. But in Scarborough, we're a bit out on a limb here, and I didn't get enough work for it to be sustainable. I needed a full-time income, and I was, I wasn't able to get enough work in that area. So anyway, eventually, my friends were asking me to help them learn how to sew. Oh, Carol Willis shows how to do this, and so we would go to each other's houses once a month or something like that, and I would be helping them with their sewing projects. And And one friend said, you really should be teaching this. And so I did my teacher training and developed my beginner's course. And I've been teaching dressmaking ever since. And that was 13, coming up 14 years ago. Yeah. So I've kind of put the movement, that, because there isn't, I had to choose really, because I couldn't kind of dedicate a lot of time for the movement, the biomusica stuff. So I concentrated on developing the sewing school business. So that's, yeah. So I've always run classes ever since. The only thing that stopped me was the lockdown. And yeah, so that's developed over time. There's other things that I want to develop with it. And it's a bit of because there's just me. And so there's a lot to do, and I keep trying to learn all the marketing tricks and, I'm constantly trying to, go on this course and that course and learn more about how to, do the marketing better. Yeah. So I'm still doing it, but I do know. Yeah. And I still also, once a month, I'm collaborating with a sound therapist now as well. And we offer this activity called Sonic Tonic. And so once a month we offer that. And so we collaborate together with her sound healing skills and my biomusic movement and voice work. We combine it and make a really lovely activity. So I'll still do a little bit. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So that's work. Yeah, but self-employed, I think to run my own business is the only way really. I think because of the challenges that I have, I wouldn't cope in a normal working environment. So creating my own work is the way to be.
How long did it take to find out that it was actually fibromyalgia?
Well, it was a grey area for a long time. There was years, quite a few years of going to see rheumatologist specialists, and they couldn't really diagnose it initially. It was quite tricky, and then I think that another difficult thing about it was that I never saw the same rheumatology person twice, because it was all locums that were filling in for, the main rheumatologist that was in our area. But it was interesting because the different people that I saw and had appointments with had different approaches. So I learned new ways of looking at things as well. And in the end, I had to stop going because I couldn't take the medication. They were prescribing medication that I just had allergic reactions to, and the side effects were far worse than the symptoms that I was trying to relieve. So in the end, I couldn't take the medication, and then that meant that I couldn't be seen by, because they have to kind of justify seeing you by prescribing. So I didn't, I wasn't able to get that service anymore. But I think one of the best things I learned, apart from changing my diet and making sure that I do exercise, was one. Well, actually, I did see this person twice, and he was not English. Can't remember where he was from, but his approach was quite different. And one time I saw him, he said, "Oh, you need to go to London." And I'm like, I don't want to go to London. I can't even sit on a train for that long. I'm not going to London. Well, I'm in too much pain to even get there, never mind be in London, the big city. But the next time I saw him, he said, you need to go somewhere different so that you see a different horizon. So that what you're looking at, your landscape, your view is different to what is familiar. And there's probably a science around this, and I can't remember what it is, but it triggers a certain response in the brain which enables healing. And so that was my cue, right, I'm booking a holiday. Or, it was the right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start, seeing new places. And it's right, isn't it? You go on holiday and you always feel better after a holiday. But I realised what he was saying then in terms of going to London. It wasn't London that I needed. It was a different horizon to look at. So that's what I've been doing ever since as well. To travel. And so traveling can be really challenging with physical difficulties. And yeah, I mean, I do struggle in airports. I get overwhelmed. I can get really overwhelmed in busy places, but it doesn't stop me from traveling, from finding new places and seeing that, And if that's on
I love that.
prescription, well, it isn't paid for. But if that's one of the one of the reasons to visit new places, then I'm going to do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Where was the first place you went when you got that prescription? What was your first holiday that you booked?
oh, I can't remember.
Has there been
I
that
really
many?
can't remember. Yeah. So I mean, I've made it a mission to go somewhere 2 or 3 times a year, even if it's only up the road. To just go half an hour's drive to another place, but it has to be somewhere where you've not been before, so that it's somewhere completely new. Yeah, so I mean, it's easy to get to Whitby or Filey, but I know it's familiar. It has to be somewhere where you've never been before. It's something to do with your neuroplasticity, I think, as well, and
Yeah.
seeing different things. Yeah,
I love that, literally. That's so fun. I think that, like, but it's so true. Like finding something that is completely new, it just gives you a different perspective on things,
yeah,
and things don't seem as sort of routine or stuck in their ways when you actually take yourself out of your
yeah,
environment. And whether that is, as you said, a town up the road or another country, or like, you don't even have to necessarily go through an airport if you don't want to. There's more than enough
yeah,
places
yeah.
to do the where you are. But I think that is I think that that's so amazing. And I guess, like, you've given so many amazing examples of activities that you've used, like methods that you've used, like how you've kind of gone through this healing journey over this period of time. And I guess my question would be, like, what is your advice for somebody? So if somebody is struggling at the moment, and, like, you can talk into this from whatever angle you want, whether it's from a pain point of view or a change point of view or a trauma point of view, like however you want to approach this, like, what would your advice be for people who are listening right now who maybe aren't where they want to be right now?
I think it's investment in your future, in your it's investment. It's worth, you know, these alternative approaches cost money, and it's about prioritizing your own health. And yeah, it's an investment in your well-being. That's
Yeah.
yeah, and to find, I think it talking to people and finding different approaches, because you could be surprised of what works for you, Yeah, because I've been in various
Yeah.
therapies over the years as well, different therapies, whether it's physical or mental, emotional, and they've all been different and they've all had their different benefits. And I think nowadays there's so much more to information online. We can get an abundance of information on healing practices. and healthy practices online. And there's lots of free stuff as well. You know, there's the YouTube is full of it. But sometimes when we have to go a bit deeper and we need more support, then I think it's time to invest and
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
pay what is relevant, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
I do
and
think,
prioritize it though.
yeah, I
Mm,
do think that in the UK, people can find it really difficult coming to that concept of actually investing in your health because
yeah,
the NHS is free. So there's like this thing of like, well, I can get, medical for free.
yeah,
So, why would I pay for these alternative practices? But I like what you said, like, actually, sometimes the alternative practices are the thing that you need. Like, sometimes you don't need an actual medical doctor because it's not a physical thing, it's an emotional thing, or a trapped trauma or something like that. And I have this really great outlook on alternative medicines and alternative like therapies and stuff like that around, like, there's a part of me that doesn't really care why they work or don't work, or if they're rooted in science, or what the reason is. It's like, if I can go and I can trick my nervous system, whether it's true or not, if my nervous system believes it and I feel better afterwards, that's all right by
yeah,
me. Like, I
yeah,
don't need to like fully understand. And I know some people really need to kind of like understand what's going on and how it works and like what the science is behind it. And I completely
yeah,
respect that as well. But I think for me, it's like very much just if it makes me feel better, even if it is not like 100% like science based,
yeah,
then I'm okay with that. I can get on board with that.
yeah, yeah. If it works, yeah, and it as well. Some of the things can be really enjoyable, you know. Um, yes, I did some art therapy once, and that was really nice. Like, I quite surprised myself what came out on the paper, you know. So that was, yeah, that was really good. And then obviously the dancing is very therapeutic, and that's very enjoyable. But there's times when I've been broken on the dance floor and just wept. But it's a release, you know that it's a release, but there's also joy there as well, you know? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I literally love that so much. I do think like when you first start healing, it does feel really hard. Like it feels like everything that you go through, every release is like reliving the situation, and like it can be quite difficult. But I liked what you said at the beginning where you were like, actually, there's a different way of kind of looking at it. Like your healing journey is ongoing, but now it just like feels different because like, okay, well, if I have a massive breakdown and I cry, it's just releasing of energy. Like it's not a big deal. Like the lens that we look at healing through like changes quite dramatically, I think, the more that we go on this healing journey. Have you like experienced the same?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm also um quite, yeah, like, well, proud, like I'm in therapy at the moment, and it's like I'm investing in myself. That's kind of what I used to be really scared of admitting that I was in therapy. Um, Whereas now I'm like, yeah, tell everybody. Well, not everybody, but it's yeah, it's good to feel okay about it, you know, being okay with not being okay. Um, yeah. And also,
Absolutely.
yeah, another little phrase that's just popped into my mind now, is I was going for some treatments a couple of years ago because I was really struggling to walk, and I was introduced to a new therapy called frequency specific microcurrent, and you're wired up to you've got all these wires attached to you, and they put these frequencies into you. And I got quite a lot of relief from that, but it didn't last very long. But it could, I think everybody's different with it, really. But I was getting, from going into the treatment room, hobbling with 2 walking sticks, and being able to walk out without any pain. It was fantastic. But the lady that was giving the treatment was in her early, it was new to her as well. So she was experimenting with it as well and was wanting feedback. So she wanted me to report to her nearly every day on how I was feeling. And then in the end, I thought, I can't do this, because what you focus on grows. It was like I was keeping myself in that, how am I today? How am I? Oh, well, I've got this discomfort and that discomfort, and that bit's a bit better. And it was like completely taking over my life, instead of me, being distracted with other things. I was having to focus on how I was on a daily basis and write back and report to her. And in the end, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Although I did get some benefit from it. It was good, but yeah, I think there's times when we just need to let things go and try something different, or just leave it for a while. Yeah.
I think that thing of what you focus on grows is so important.
Yeah.
If you're constantly focused on this isn't good, where is the pain? How is this manifesting? What is happening? Like, if you're constantly in that space, you're looking for more of that. And I know, like, for the people who listen to the podcast, they know how much of a nerd I am when it comes to the nervous system. But, our brain has receptors that says we need to filter. We can only focus on so many things. You need to tell us what's important to focus on. So if we're constantly going pain, 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 then all our nervous system is doing is looking for pain. And it just gives us that, that constant feed of like, oh yeah, but there's a little niggle here and this doesn't feel quite right. And, I just want to show you all of the things that you're calling to you. Whereas actually, if we're focusing on, the opposite and how good we feel, or all of the things that we can do, or, whatever the other side of the coin is for you on the journey, it shifts that dynamic of what we're looking at. And, it is, people always say that, you've got to feel the feeling before the thing arrives in order to manifest, because that is the trick with your nervous system. Like, manifesting is just your nervous system's focusing to look for the right things and look for the opportunities. And a lot of people really struggle with that, to shift their focus to good before good has arrived. So I think, like, for you actually sitting back and saying, actually, no, I can't keep focusing on the pain. I can't keep focusing on this like negative side of the coin. I need to do something different. That is such a powerful like moment in a healing journey to really shift the outcome that you get. So that's really cool.
Yeah. It did make a difference. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And also it gave me time and headspace to develop my working situation, and I ended up moving house and moving the premises of the business, and just by allowing that space to think about other things that weren't the pain. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. Okay, so I've got one final question that I always ask people on the podcast, which I absolutely love. It's my favorite question. And we've kind of touched on this a little bit already, so I guess we could just nail it down for people. I always say that your healing journey develops as you go through this process. So at the beginning, it normally feels quite hard and quite shocking and, difficult. And then as you get further and further into it, it feels more kind of soft and like a continuum of just layer by layer. Like, it doesn't necessarily seem as dramatic. But I always like to ask our guests, what is your next level of healing that you're going through at the moment, that you're working on at the moment?
Um, so I'm currently working with an expert in QEC, quantum energy. Can't remember what the C stands for, counselling or something. And it is about releasing old traumas. And because I've got complex trauma, there's lots of things. And so this next level of healing that I'm doing is gradually releasing me from, you know, lots of very traumatic things from when I was younger. And already I'm feeling excited about what's next. And I don't even know what next looks like at the moment. And we talked about manifesting. I don't really even know what I want to manifest because this is going to be a new me, completely new me. And I'm in my 60s now, I'm in my early 60s, and I I've still got, a life, and I want my life to be vibrant and colourful and exciting and creative and all of these things before it's too late. Time's ticking away, and we're in December already, and it only feels like yesterday. It was last December. So I'm very conscious of like really using my time wisely and moving into this space that is more carefree, that is more healed. And so that it's going to include more travel, definitely. But I mean, I feel like at the moment that this is it. This is the big one. This is the end of it. The end of that circle. Wishful thinking, I think. But because things always come round in circles. But I don't know this time. I think this is it. I think this is the last push before I step into a new me that that is able to, manifest anything I want.
I love that.
Yeah. So I've got my ideas of creative. I think it's creative ideas that I want to, nail down and implement really. And
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it's amazing. 2026 is a year of legacies. It's a year of creation. So um it's not strange that there feels like there is creation and creativity and um this new level that is coming in. I think that that is absolutely beautiful. Okay, so Carol, is there anything else that you want to share with the audience before we go?
yeah. I think the one thing that um, has been very much part of my healing journey all my life is the sewing. Um, because I started so young, and it's been the thread that has run through my entire life. Literally, sewing and knitting were a way of engrossing myself in something really lovely, and then you get this thing that you've produced that's colourful and it feels tactile and lovely, and so I mean it provided me with a job, and so the sewing is kind of is very healing for people. And there's a little phrase that floats around the internet called, and I think there might be a book called "Sewing Mends the Soul." And it literally does. I've got a couple of clients who have made things out of their loved ones' clothes when they've passed away, and it's really been a way of them connecting with their dearly departed and helping them to recreate something. And two couple of very different people with different circumstances put their garment on, and both of them said independently, it's like wearing a hug, from their loved one. And there's been a couple of other people that have been navigating grief through sewing for different reasons as well. But I've also, got this young woman who she's just lost her dad, and she's asked me she wants to get back into sewing, and we've talked about a project, and so that we're gonna write this book as well. She's willing to document the process of her journey of converting some of her dad's clothes into something meaningful and something that she can, keep and hug and, and hold. And so it's very precious. So it is the sewing. It's a very healing activity. So that's always been there, So returning to that.
Oh, absolutely. I think so something that you said earlier, like you said that when you had to stop sewing, you
Yeah.
had like a lot of grief around that situation. And then actually it is kind of like a full circle moment, you now teaching sewing and
Yeah.
helping people kind of come through their grief using the thing that you had to grieve losing.
Yeah, it's a bit odd, isn't it? Maybe there'll be more healing for me in that process as well as helping other people. Yeah. Who knows what it'll be, you know, when I go through that cycle of developing that project. Who knows what'll be at the end of it, really. It's interesting. Yeah, exciting as well. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
So I can do quite a bit now. My fingers are nimble again. They're not in any pain anymore. But I've done the work, but I'm slow. I'm slow these days, so I can't do it for anybody else. I can just teach these days. So yeah.
It's been so wonderful to hear your story and to have you share. And I know that living with a chronic illness that causes pain can be really, really difficult. And to hear you have such a full life and have such a different outlook on it, rather than just, oh, I can't do this and I can't do that, and I can't travel and I can't show up in and do certain activities. Like, actually, you're just like, I'm just going to embrace life and do as much as I can in all of these aspects. It's so wonderful to hear. Like, it's so wonderful. Thank you so much for bringing this to this platform, because I know so many people who struggle with pain who would absolutely really get some inspiration from being able to listen to somebody talk about this, and somebody who's lived with this for, their whole life. Like, that is just, just thank you so much. Like, I feel really honored that you have shared your story with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for listening, and I hope if it gives one person hope, that's a job done.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the reason why we have the podcast. One person, it's all we need.
Yeah. Lovely.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for listening to another inspiring episode of The Diary of Discovery. If you found value in today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and share it with your friends, family, or anyone else you think might benefit from the stories of hope and transformation. Your feedback means the absolute world to us, so please take a moment to leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your reviews help us to reach even more listeners and continue to bring this meaningful content to the world. Until next time, remember, your healing journey is valid. You are never alone, and you have the strength to get through this. Keep shining bright, and we'll see you in the next episode of The Diary of Discovery.